Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From a Woman to a Leader, a podcast dedicated to discussing women's unique challenges in the tech industry. I'm your host, Limor Bergman-Gross, and today I have a privilege of speaking with Purni Siddarth. Purni is the principal product manager at Peak. Purni's journey is one of courage, perseverance, and the relentless pursuit of her true calling. From her early days as a software engineer in India to her transition into product management in the US, Purni's story will inspire you to embrace the unexpected and unlock your true potential. So let's dive in and learn from Purni's remarkable journey. Hi, Purni, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Limor. Thank you so much. This is an opportunity, and I'm so glad to be speaking with you here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Likewise, I'm very excited speaking with you today. And let's start by if you can walk us through your career journey, basically starting in engineering in India and then transitioning into product management roles here in the US.
Happy to walk you through my journey. I did in high school. I did financial accounting, economics, and business studies. That was my major in high school. But my mom always felt that I was more analytical and I should continue the science path. So that's how I chose and joined software engineering at a university in India. It was like a 5-year course. It also made me realize that the future is technology and future is computers. So that was a good path to get me started on. And this was all back in India. And I joined a company, Barry Wehmiller. They had a software division in India. I joined as their software engineer. My first job in India, it was important that I learn and blend my education into the work. So I learned that early on. And from there came to America and started from scratch again here. I learned a lot in engineering. As an engineer, I learned what a company does. That foundation was critical for me to understand because I now realize as a product manager how that foundation was important. How does this company work? Whom are we serving? Who is the customer? What role do I play in it? Because I was building web applications as an engineer. How does the web application serve the company, serve the customer? And as I did that, I learned that I was more inquisitive and curious about the problem space. What is the problem that the customer facing? How is it important to them? Why is it important that we should be the ones to solve it? And then go into how do we even solve this? So it was like a natural progression. In hindsight, when I look at it, it feels like there was a grand plan. But in those stages, it was about asking those questions and understanding the role that I'm playing in that company and leaning on my manager and my boss to guide me to see the big picture. In 2015, my engineering journey came to an end because I got laid off from a job. And that made me question, okay, what's next? And thinking about it, taking a pause, thinking about it made me realize that I get most excited about the problem space because as an engineer, you're more tuned to the solution space. I'm like, hey, there's a problem. We know what the problem is. Now let's use technology to solve that problem. But I think I found myself drawn more towards the a problem space, understanding all the facets of a problem. Why is it even there in the first place? I refer to this as stewing in the problem space, and I find that brings out the best in me. So that's my transition from India, high school in India, software engineering in India, to my role as a software engineer building web applications in the .NET space and in Microsoft tech stack. That's what I did for 12 to 13 years. I'm dating myself here, and then shifted to product management. And I found it super exciting to start from scratch in a completely new field and then realizing that it's actually my ultimate calling. And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this is an incredible story, and kudos for your courage to make a transition. It's not easy, especially, when you are facing layoffs, which are always hard, especially on your confidence, and taking that as an opportunity to assess your passions and your goals and then making the transition is a very bold move. So
Thank you.
kudos on that.
I mean, the layoffs were hard, right? I would be lying if I said that, hey, it didn't affect me. Of course, it affected me. It sucked that I didn't have a job. I woke up one morning, went to work, got put in a conference room only to be told that I don't have a job anymore, of course, it really hurt. It made me question my self identity because as a working woman, as a career woman, a lot of my identity is tied to the work that I do, and to realize that the work is not there anymore hurts. But I think this is where I would love to lean on my upbringing in India. I grew up in a middle class family where we always save for the rainy day and we make the most of the opportunity given to us. I leaned a lot on that foundation to be able to recover from layoffs. I've faced two layoffs so far, and both of which sucked, both of which hurt, but I was able to come up from it owing to my background and owing to my growing years in India.
Wow, this is incredible. So, first of all, this is a great approach. I always believe that every challenge that we face is an opportunity, and seems like you live by it. And
It is
I will.
hard to see in that moment, but
I
yes.
know, I know, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and I want to ask you, um, what kind of tips, or what would you like to share with maybe women that are facing something similar, like they're facing a similar setback, like maybe they got laid off or something like that happened to them? How can they actually see that as an opportunity, or even just reassess their own self appreciation and self confidence?
I would love to talk about that. I would definitely say start with acknowledging the hurt. Take some time to sit with the pain. It's okay, because as women, we try to put up a brave face most of the time, especially as a working mother. We try to put up the brave front, like, yes, everything's okay, kids, don't worry, I got you, there's food on the table, right? We always play that role. We are nurturers, we are caregivers. So it's easy for us to downplay our own emotions and then try to put up a brave face. I would say it's okay. It's okay to give yourself permission to cry, to break down, to completely unravel. Lean on your sisterhood, lean on your friends to pull you back up. And then next day, it's all right. Brush yourself up and come up, because it is out of your own abilities that you got to where you are, and why that is no longer the case. So lean on those abilities, because that's where the confidence, you rebuild your confidence. I would 100% say reach out to other women in your community. For example, when I got laid off in 2015 from my engineering role, trying to figure out what next, I reached out of the blue. I reached out to this lady whose post I saw on Facebook, and she was transitioning from a role in Facebook to a startup. And I don't know why. I just sent her an email to say, okay, what do you do as a product manager, and why is it important? Out of the kindness of her heart, she wrote me the most thoughtful response. That was the impetus for me to actually change and go from engineering to product management. So I'm happy to call out her name, Rose Yao. You have been my inspiration from day one. Thank you for taking the time to email me and help me build my confidence back up. So I would say, coming back to tips, reach out to your community, reach out to just anybody. Like, there were so many product managers that I just invited them to have a cup of coffee. I would take the train, go meet them in their office, get them a cup of coffee between their meetings, and then just to understand what is your day to day like. All of that helped me prepare myself for the role of a product manager. So happy to have any of you in the community reach out to me, to have a shoulder, to have a person to talk to, and happy to do that. It's all in the
That's
community.
that's a very generous offer. Thank you so much, Purni. Absolutely, I really am true believer in giving back and supporting others at times that need, at times
Yes.
when they are most vulnerable. This is
Because
so important.
they are so much in pain that they don't see their own strength, right? By talking to a complete stranger, sometimes it gives you that perspective you need to look into yourself, to realize that, you know what, there's a lot more deep in here that you can tap into, which may not be evident when you are succumbing to your emotions, but it is okay to get somebody else to point that out to you. Even it's a person who may not even know anything about you, but for them to share their own journey gives you that shift in focus to realize that, oh, if they did it, maybe I can do it too. That's all part of rebuilding that confidence.
Absolutely, and role models are super important. That's why, yeah, part of the reason why I have this podcast, right? I want to highlight role models like you so others can
Thank you.
see themselves also in those
Yes.
roles. And let's go back to kind of that moment when you decided that you wanted to switch to product and you became a product manager. What were the biggest hurdles that you faced when you started, or tried breaking into product management roles?
I have to say thank you to my family, to my husband and my mother-in-law for being huge supporters, because this was at the time when I had two really young kids. And my younger one was 2 year old at the time that I got laid off. The funny story is I got laid off on his birthday. So it was my second one's birthday on which I got like the layoff notice. So yeah, not fun. But thanks to my mother-in-law and my husband and my father-in-law for giving me the space to say, you know what, take your time to figure out what you want to do, and we are here for you. I needed that. I needed that reinforcement. So I took 6 months to shift in from engineering to product management. I did a couple of courses on Udemy to understand what is product management. I had worked with amazing product managers before as an engineer, so I kind of knew what they were doing, but I needed coaching to see whether I could do it for myself. I went to product school in 2015. Thank you to my amazing teachers, Hamid, Shrikar, and Carlos himself. I learned from the best. They coached me on how to face product management interviews. We did mock interviews. They even taught me how to write my resume. The biggest hurdle, I would say, was to frame my experience, my engineering experience, from the lens of a product manager. Because as an engineer, like I said, you are more focused on the solution space, but how do you reframe that to highlight the problem space, right? Because how do you get the attention of the hiring manager who's looking for a product manager to join their team? This is where I would definitely lean on what product school taught me. It taught me to apply product thinking to anything and everything. So I saw myself as a product. I saw my resume as a product, looking for product market fit with the hiring manager who's looking for a PM. My teacher, Hamid, made me edit and redo my resume at least 20 to 23 times. So I was literally A B testing my way from one job application to another job application before I got that hit. So the biggest hurdle was framing myself as a product manager, right? Convincing somebody through a one page resume that I am whom they are looking for. And I, again, coming from India, I do believe in stroke of, like, the magic and the fate a little bit. I would be lying if I said it didn't. If something was written for me, it will happen to me, is something I have learned to believe in. As a youngster, as like a person in 20s, I did not believe in that. But as a person in my 40s now, I truly believe that if something is meant to come my way, it'll come my way. And I lean on that for faith, for strength. So back to the hurdles, as an engineer shifting into product, it was not about downplaying my engineering abilities, but it was more about how do I highlight the fact that even as an engineer, I was building the foundation and the layers to becoming a product manager, and literally convincing the hiring manager or even the resume screening tool to see that magic in my one page resume. I would say that it wasn't a hurdle per se, but it was about an opportunity to apply product thinking right from day one, right from my first job hunt for a PM role.
Yeah, and first of all, based on what you described already in your engineering career, you thought about things that many engineers don't think about, right? I mean, you thought about the business and about what problems do we solve and who do we serve. So you already were thinking like product. And
I
I
would
very
definitely, I would say, definitely say this to all engineers out there, that it is, yes, as a job, you have to solve the problem given to you, but it shouldn't stop you from asking what the problem is about, or asking more probing questions. I would say, if there's one takeaway that you can take from what I'm saying here, from engineering to the product, it's that one thing: learn to ask those probing questions, right? To understand, why are we even doing what we are doing? Why is this web application important? Why am I putting a button here? And why does it matter whether the button is blue color or pink color? Right? Asking those probing questions, clarifying questions, that's an amazing skill for anybody to develop, whether you want to shift into product or not. It helps you see the bigger picture, as so that you understand that what you do really matters and why it matters.
absolutely, yeah. And that helps also with managing up and pushing back, setting boundaries in general. Asking probing questions is a wonderful tool to challenge. Hey, Why are you asking that? What's the reasoning? What is the impact? And so forth. So I very much resonate with that. And you mentioned that you had a very supportive environment. And I know that in our pre call, you mentioned that you're a teacher daughter. So I want to ask you a little bit about that.
Happy to. My mother is a retired chemistry teacher. She taught in the school Padma Seshadri in Chennai, in India. I went to that same school. Unfortunately, I never was in her class. She was always a teacher for a different grade and not my grade. And even for my grade, it was for my friends and not necessarily for me. So I did miss being under her. But she was my mother after all, so she would make sure that she coached me and gave me tuitions and gave me extra chemistry lessons at home for sure. She is an infinite learner. She's always wanted to learn. That's the teacher in her. She needs to learn in order to be able to teach her students, right? One thing that I would want to share here is at the age of 40, my mother decided that she wanted to go do her master's in chemistry. So I think my sister was in 12th grade at that time and I was in 6th grade. She left us in the care of our grandmother and she went to college at the age of 40 to do her master's, and she completed her master's. She did that for herself, right? As a daughter, it made me see that a working mother can have ambitions for herself, can have an identity for herself that is separate from her responsibilities as a mother. It was really important for me to learn that early on by seeing her lead by example there. So she's a teacher, I'm a teacher's daughter, and the learning never stops. I'm the kind that goes and signs up for some course or the other every year. I mentioned that I did products. I went to product school in 2015. In 2017, I went to Stanford to learn the course of being a product manager for the Internet of Things. 2018 was Women in Leadership course with eCornell, and 2019 was Diversity, Engagement, and Inclusive Leadership with eCornell again. And then I did Teresa Torres's continuous discovery from continuous product development, continuous interviewing. I did that. And then I lost track in between there. My latest one was Alt MBA in 2023 January, and it was a way for me to question the fundamental question as to what is it for? What am I doing and what is it for? It's not just as an individual, but as a PM. What is the product we're building? What is it for? As a mother, the things that I do for my kids, what is it for? Going back to that fundamental question to get back to the why it matters. So coming back to my mother, I think the infinite learner in her set me on the course to be a learner myself and to know that there's always room for improvement. There's always something out there that I don't know, and be curious about it. Be open to the discomfort of not knowing something, but being open to learning. Thanks to my mom, and my sister played a huge role in all through this, because each time that my mother went for her ambitions, my sister played the role of my mother, taking care of me and making sure that I was taken care of and set. She would check up on my homework, make sure that I'm prepared for the test next day in school. So both of those, like these two career women, have definitely set me on a path to be a learner and be a career woman myself.
Wow. Your mama is such an inspiration.
She is.
And definitely, I truly believe in those two things that you mentioned. That first, your mom, didn't let her own ambitions, you know, s- uh, set aside because she had a family.
Yes.
She decided to pursue what was important for her. And that's a proof that, yes, we can be mothers and we can have a career. We don't have to choose.
Yes.
And we learn all the time. I just want to mention one thing. I am a continuous learner myself, and I always learn and I love learning. But I see a lot of women that don't celebrate successes. So they always look at the next thing that they don't know or they need to acquire. And I want to mention it because this is also important thing, that celebrate the moment, celebrate the successes, celebrate what you do know and what you have achieved. What are
It
your
is so.
thoughts?
It's interesting that you mention it, because every manager that I've had so far has asked me to slow down, and I always saw that feedback as a way to say, "Okay, why are you holding me back?" But the way you said it, it's actually them teaching me to slow down, to celebrate the successes that I've already achieved, and taking a moment to rest in that before setting my sights on the next one. Thank you to all my managers for pointing me in the right direction, by the way. Now I understand that your guidance was to make me see that and not necessarily hold me back, because I definitely saw that. I'm like, why are you asking me to not sign up for the next course? I want to do more. I see that podcast episode that I haven't listened to. I have this newsletter article and Substack that I haven't read about. And then I've always had my managers tell me, it's okay, Purni, slow down. You can do that tomorrow. I'm like, what do you mean slow down? I can't slow down, but I'm able to see. I'm able to see why they say that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's important. And it seems like you're so energetic and achieving. You're so inspiring, Purni. Thank you so much.
I don't know anywhere anyhow else to be. This is who I am, and if there is feedback here somewhere that shows me a better path, open to it any day.
Yeah. And tell us, I'm going back to kind of your product journey. And obviously, you came from engineering, and that's kind of so you know what it is to be an engineer, and you know how it is to be a product person. And there's always a tension between product and engineering. We know that, right? It's a healthy tension.
Yes.
So, kind of, what benefits does tight product and engineering cohesion provide to the business?
Being on the same page makes us be sure that we are giving our best to our customers, right? And giving our best to our customers means we are giving our best to the business as well. So it's a beautiful partnership. It's a healthy partnership. That tension is good because we don't rest on assumptions. We question those assumptions and we guide each other towards a better solution. That's where I love my partnership with all the engineering teams that I worked with. And I am the kind who sets a high bar for myself. I have like very high standards. What I mean by that is doing the best we can, completely understanding the problem, challenging each other's understanding assumptions, questioning each other's assumptions so that we are all sure about what we are trying to solve, and then giving our best shot in solving it. My manager also has taught me, like, the one thing that he says pretty often is measure twice, cut once. So we love doing that in my team. We do strive for the high bar, and my team is known for getting things done, whichever team I've led, be it at Peak right now or at Dividend or prior to that at Expedia. We've done that. So the partnership with engineering is extremely important to me, and it's important to me that they know that I come from that background. I don't wear it as a chip on my shoulder, but I see it more as a way to understand their concerns, understand their questions, and be able to collaborate with them on the same plane and have that partnership there. There's no better word for it other than partnership. The engineers that I work with know where I come from, and when I ask them questions, it comes from a place of wanting to do the best as a team and not necessarily challenge their notions. And they ask me the same questions too. Hey, why is this important to the customer? So it's a great collaboration tool. We talk a lot. I talk a lot with my team, and my team talks a lot with me. And come from all those conversations, we are confident that when we put out a product update out there, we know that we've solved the problem to the best of our abilities, given what we knew at that moment. Setting the high bar also means that we are aware of our limitations. We are not afraid of making mistakes or failures, because again, given what we know, we solve the problem, but chances are that there might be something else out there, some nuance out there that we didn't know of, or that we didn't think to be important enough. That will come back and bite us at some point. That's okay. It's okay to learn from it and reinforce that learning with the next product that we are building. So I think the high bar is not about pushing ourselves nonstop. It's about making sure that whatever we do it right, we get it done, and we get it done competently, and to be open to the fact that we make mistakes, and that's okay, and we don't repeat the same mistake again.
Yeah, mistakes are crucial. I see
Yes.
them as crucial. As you said, as long as you learn from them and you don't repeat the same mistakes.
See, there's a distinction there, right? I mean, this again, it goes back to my upbringing as a teacher's daughter. Mistakes are okay, but sloppiness is not okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you make a mistake, it's all right. It's okay that you didn't think of something, you didn't think of a use case, you didn't think of a customer specific way of like operating or using your product. That's okay. But whatever you put out, it shouldn't be sloppy. What you put out needs to be a full-fledged thing on its own that is actually able to solve the problem that you set out to solve. So that's where in my mind, I clearly see a distinction between getting things done, getting them done right and competently, but no room for sloppiness.
Yeah, fair enough. And you mentioned also, based on what we know now. So a lot of times you make decisions in uncertainty, right? You don't know everything,
Yes.
and you make the best decision that you can based on what you know, and you see, you learn, and you continue. You change accordingly.
Yep. Because the business is evolving, the world around us is evolving, the customers who are using our products are also evolving, right? When I talk to our customers and I ask a few questions, I learned so much from them that what I assumed or how I assumed they were using the product is completely different from how they're actually using it. So as a PM, I love asking my customers, I'm like, okay, show me how you're doing this, right? And that teaches me so much more that I can go back to my team to say that, hey, we built this feature A, and we thought that this is how the customer is using the feature. But guess what? They do A.1, A.2, A.3, and here are all the ways in which they have used it, but also figured out workarounds for ways in which feature A is not meeting their demands, right? So that is like a super learning tool. It goes back to what I learned from Teresa Torres's course, right? Continuous discovery through interviews. How do you talk to your customers? What do you learn? And what you learn today will be very different from tomorrow. And I really wish we had a crystal ball for all the unknowns out there.
Yeah, the world is changing so rapidly.
It does.
Any last words of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners, especially with women in tech?
One thing I would tell women in tech is we are a lot stronger than we think we are. We don't give ourselves credit for how much we already know. And that comes from tenacity. Women are naturally tenacious and resilient. We don't see that in ourselves. Sometimes you need somebody else to point that out in you. And I'm happy to point that out to anybody out there. You are a lot more than what you think you are. And you just need a pause and a reminder to look in the mirror.
Amen to that. Thank you so much, Purni. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. And how can people reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Look for me, Purni Siddarth, at LinkedIn. Happy to have a conversation. If anybody, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. If anybody wants to meet up for coffee, happy to do that as well. It's always fun to meet new people and talk product.
Incredible. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Limor. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of From a Woman to a Leader. And next week, I have the pleasure of speaking with Navdeep Kaur Kalsi. She's a remarkable woman who navigated the challenges of being a female tech leader. And she shares her insights and journey moving from India to Australia and facing discrimination in the workplace to finding her own strength and becoming a successful engineering leader. You don't want to miss that episode, so stay tuned for next week's episode and subscribe to the podcast to never miss an episode.